Which language is that, Bill?
Swedish. That's their Mayday carol, or one of them.
Okay, we are live. Where is my tablet? Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Epic Sketch Time. Epic Sketch Time is a online freelance, not freelance group, online drawing group. We've been meeting weekly for about 7 or 8 years, long before COVID, long before Zoom, back when we used to do this on Google Hangouts. Anyway, I'm your host, Mark Monlux, and I live in Tacoma, Washington. And today I'm going to be working on illustrations. I'm redrawing an obscure movie monster called the She Creature from the 1950s. And I didn't like my first one. It looked too much like just a mugshot. So, and with me, I believe Katie was the first one up.
Really? Okay. Hi, I'm Katie C. On Instagram, I'm at Evil Girlfriend Media. I am a writer and artist from Bonnie Lake, Washington. Today, I am touching up a Killer Clowns from Outer Space picture. And then I'm going to move over to a Ghoulies, kind of like a Ghoulies decorative picture that could go in someone's bathroom. I also, as a writer, I have a new short story collection out, Bizarre Stories for Proper Ladies. It is on Amazon. You do not have to be a lady nor proper to enjoy these bizarre stories. So appreciate it if you check that out. Thanks.
Bill, you're next.
I am Bill Morse. I'm a freelance illustrator and cartoonist working in Seattle, Washington. I do a webcomic called Rhapsodies, and this year and this month I'm also doing a whole lot of mermaids, and today I'll be working on inking my comic strip.
Now, you're doing your mermaids in watercolor, aren't you, Bill?
That's correct. And it's beginning to turn, and I'm beginning to make some progress with the skill set, where got a little ambitious for the one for the 9th, where I won't pretend it's as good as it could be, but the sky was interesting.
Very nice.
And then the one after that, while a relatively simplistic composition, I think maybe one of the best ones I've done in a while, at least.
Well, the colors have a nice saturation to them. So that I certainly like that intensity.
Yeah. And currently I'm being mildly stumped on the next prompt I have to do.
What is the next prompt then?
Well, for me, because I got an early start because it's Patreon, it's Patreon fodder. The next prompt is a companion. And the reason I'm having problems with that is technically that can describe just about any picture I do that has more than one mermaid in it, which is quite a few. Though I can always get pretty good mileage from deliberately misunderstanding prompts. I mean, for example, I was being rather annoyed by they're doing one of the prompts near the end is Haley Bailey. And so when I was looking at it at first and being annoyed by it in a way that makes me sound like a MAGA reacting to the latest bit of wokeism, was that the main reason it is Haley Bailey is the live actress for the Disney's latest remake for The Little Mermaid. So it's sort of like, as far as I can see it, it's there's not much to do with it beyond doing a portrait of Haley Bailey as the Little Mermaid. But I thought of a way around that where I'm planning to have it with some of my mermaids being very excited to go and see the movie.
Oh, I like that.
Mhm.
Well, you could always, as far as the companion goes,
Yeah.
have a mermaid with a crab doing a play off of the Disney Sebastian character.
Ooh. Ooh. I kind of like that, actually.
But maybe she's wearing a one of those bibs from a restaurant.
All right, rubber band.
But at least so far, I'm getting fairly good feedback on Instagram, which makes me feel good. Though it seems on the downside, as it appears to be attracting more of those post at such and such a plays.
I don't understand, Bill. Post at
Oh,
such and such a place.
I'm sure you've gotten those.
Oh, where they say, "Oh, you should post this here."
Yes. I am so sick to death of those.
And aren't they like a scam? Because they want you to pay them to post your photo, right? And promote you.
That is an angle of it that had not occurred to me. I'm sure that I would not put it past them, because the really frustrating thing is that they're robots simply because a human being wouldn't notice and respond within the first 15 seconds.
Right.
But one that I was, at the same time, I wasn't sure whether they were legit or not, but one person asked me about commissions after that.
Oh,
It is, darn, I kind of was.
whenever they'll say, "Oh, do you do commissions?" and you say yes, and they'll say, "Well, I'd love you to do my daughter's a portrait for my daughter for her birthday, but I can't talk to you because I have communication issues, and it'd have to be done by email, and you'd have to accept a check in advance. You know the drill."
Yeah, I've had two of the I had the one where like that a while ago, and then I've gotten the one who claims to be handicapped in some sort of way twice. Huh, weird. And for some reason, I have the mole music from Day of the Dead stuck in my head.
I got do 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 do. Dum 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 do do do.
Yeah, because was interesting because I stumbled over the history of that music. It sort of where apparently Romero chose it because one, it was sounded kind of ironically upbeat, but mainly because it was cheap, uh, cheap
Licensing?
licensing. And after he used it, they can't use it for anything else. The one thing that I found out at a similar time, you know, the classic circus clown music. Exactly. Apparently, the actual name for that music is March of the Gladiators, and apparently was not intended for the humorous purpose it is now.
I am curious, what movies have people been seeing?
It almost doesn't count because I got distracted and ended up not being in the mood, but I started watching The Lady Eve.
I like The Lady Eve.
Yeah, I mean, it was one that I was aware of for a while, never got around to watch it. I think mainly because I got it mixed up with The Three Faces of Eve. And speaking of theme songs that are easy to get stuck in your head, the opening music for that is very good.
Speaking of music, Gordon Lightfoot died today.
Ooh.
I don't know if you guys are Gordon Lightfoot fans or not, but in the 70s, he was quite the deal. My favorite song by him was the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Oh, okay, yeah, I love that song. For some reason, there was a reaction series. Was there an anniversary to it recently? Because for some reason, I stumbled over about 15 music channels doing reactions to it.
Well, there might have been an anniversary. No, hang on. In October, the wreck occurred in October.
That makes sense.
So if you depending on when you were hearing the reaction shot, they I think it was in the 90s. They found the wreck and they salvaged the bell from the ship, and it's in the ship's museum. And when they put it in the museum, they rang it 29 times for each crew member lost. So Katie, you were probably way too young, probably. Oh, we lost Katie. Well, she's trying to get back on. We can see something.
Hey, sorry about that, guys. Yeah, well now the menu has went away and you can see my ceiling. I don't know what's going on with this app. I was trying to unmute so I could talk and it just hung up here. Let me fix this. Okay, start video, turn
I
it
wasn't
around.
looking at the screen, so were you responding to my comment?
No.
On Gordon Lightfoot, or
No, I was just gonna say that that song is so sad, and I remember it from when I was a little kid, and it would always come on the radio, and it's a long song. How many minutes is it?
3, give or take.
Oh, really? It just seemed like it was a longer song than that. I'm trying to think of what other songs he sang besides that.
That's the only one I'm aware of.
Okay.
oh, he did a number of them, but I can't. Since that's my favorite, I tend to remember only it.
Isn't there? No, that was Jim Croce. I was like the one about the operator. That was Jim Croce. Never mind.
Right era though.
Yeah. I went through this whole folk music thing where like all I listened to was like, and now I can't remember. I really can't remember anything. Cat Stevens, Joan Baez.
Oh yeah. My
It was like this.
family was, my folks were very much into folk music, so I grew up on their Weaver, their collection, which included the Weavers, Pete Seeger, Peter, Paul and Mary.
Yeah.
A lot of bluegrass.
I really like Joan Baez. I mean, Bob Dylan. I mean, I know a lot of people love Bob Dylan, but I could never understand what he was saying.
I loved Bob Dylan.
I actually saw him in concert. He didn't play very long. Actually, all of his opening acts, played way longer than him.
Yeah.
But it was still really cool to see him in
And of course, what I'm really excited about on the subject of folk music is Folklife is coming in 4 weeks.
Is that like a folk festival, like music festival, or?
Northwest Folklife at Seattle Center, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See,
You like folk music, it's a great way to, best to take the bus though. It's, to say it's crowded is a bit of an understatement.
That's because it's free to get in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I didn't know that. Yeah, because I still listen to some folk music, but I really got into this looks like a mess, but Cat Stevens after watching Harold and Maude, because that whole soundtrack is basically him. Isn't that like from T from the Tillerman, I think is where those songs from that album. I'm not sure.
That's funny for me. While I listened to Cat Stevens before that, I kind of got into him after the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Yeah. But yeah, so I saw where you posted about Gordon Lightfoot, and I didn't see that you had mentioned he'd passed on, but I figured if you were reminiscing about him, he may have passed on. And so I was like, okay, that's probably why he's mentioning this.
Mhm.
Sometimes my paint is so unpredictable. I went to just squeeze out a little blob of this. I'm glad I put a plastic mat down where I paint because I don't even know where that blob of green went, but okay. I got these canvases. They're like little canvases, and I thought they were better primed than this. Because it says they're already primed. They were not primed, and I had to prime them. And I don't know if it was my primer or what, but they just are not they're not taking well. So I'm having to put I'm having to put extra layers of paint and then lots of texture to try to hide the fact that the canvas is rough. I guess I could paint over all of them and do it again. I don't really feel like doing that because I'm running out of time, of course. It's like I will wait until the last minute to make everything a priority. Like, I'll keep my day job a priority. And then it's like right before a convention, I'm like, oh no, I got to get off work on time. I got to go work on my, my art, my writing, whatever. I'm still trying to problem solve in my head my display for Texas because we had so many issues last year with our display.
Oh, really?
Well, it just took up a lot of room, and Tim is used to selling his books a certain way, and it threw off everything for him. And it was also kind of this like behemoth that was really hard to navigate. And so it's just we're trying to come up with a better way. And I think what may end up happening is I may put out certain pieces on Friday, and then I'll put out certain, I'll just, as I sell out, I'll just have to put on more. Or if something sits too long, if it's halfway through Saturday and it's not sold, switch it out, because I don't know that I'm going to have room for everything. And I'm trying to decide if I'm going to take some pieces I had last year where I had a lot of interest in the piece. I almost sold 3 pieces, but they were all to people who had traveled to the convention by flight. And so they were like, I even had one guy who brought his suitcase down trying to see if he could shove it in a suitcase. And he's like, well, I can't buy it because, well, I don't want to damage it. And I was like, I almost offered to ship it if he would prepay, but then I was like, I don't want the stress of that. Because like, what if I go to ship it and then it gets damaged or what have you?
Yeah.
So I just ended up taking it home. That was a little aggravating.
I can see it. There's so many little things that can happen. I had this rather amusing case during Norwestcon this year where I was going to a friend's birthday party afterwards, and my present for him was this watercolor I did with him as a Klingon.
Oh,
and
fun.
So I was plugging. I made what I wrapped it in, I thought was pretty safe, and it ended up getting bent anyway. Not enough for him to notice, but it was sort of slightly nerve-wracking. Because I tell you, the main reason I regret not having a car, and it's not for the usual stuff like being able to go places and whatnot. The real reason that it's great to have a car is because it's essentially a large portable storage unit.
I think that's one of the hard parts for us when we go to Texas is, if you go to a local con, you can put things in your car, you can carry more things. And when you go to a convention, out of town, buddy, it's either in that suitcase and you're taking it or you're doing without, unless you can, leave the convention and go places. But then, I don't really want to do that either, right? Like, I don't want to spend leave and spend a lot of money, especially if I know what I need is at home. But we'll see. We opted for a little bit bigger area. They had a $500 option and an $800 option. So um we opted for the larger.
You did. How
Yeah.
impressive.
Well, just because I didn't know when we ordered how much art I would be taking with us and what it would look like for us to set up the booth. Because I just know that we couldn't do the setup we had last year. That just wasn't going to work for us. So I just kind of was like, okay, let's just go ahead and do the 800. Let's see what happens. We can always, well, I hope we can downgrade. I know I've heard of people like wanting to downgrade at Emerald City and they wouldn't let them downgrade. But I think the owner of Texas Frightmare might let us if we ask, because we went so many years, but you never know. I saw that Washington SummerCon is Shannon Doherty and then Mark Paul Gossier and somebody else had to, Ming Na was going to have to reschedule. But they still have such an impressive lineup this summer. Like
I think everyone, we got Rogers trying to join. I wonder how long I've kept Roger hanging. And he's signing on at 5 o'clock. So I wonder if he was busy until now or if he forgot that we start at 4:30. Yeah, I know someone who said that they did Emerald City and they wanted to go back to Artist Alley and they were pressuring them saying, oh no, you're really set up for this larger booth. He says, I don't want to pay for the larger booth. I want to, I was making just as much in Artist Alley. So to me, it makes more sense to do Artist Alley. And they weren't letting him in.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if we get into Washington SummerCon and go to the Artist Alley, I'll be happy. I felt like we did for what our table cost and just the whole weekend, and it was such a good experience that if they just said, hey, you can get a but if they were like, we don't have any Artist Alley, do you want a bigger booth? We'd possibly do that too, just because we really enjoyed it.
Well, Steve, the guy who runs the show, he's really nice. And he still has a very hands-on approach and likes to put a lot of thought into his show. So he tries to keep his vendors happy.
Yeah, we'll see if we get in. I think they had a lot more people apply this time too, just because of the with COVID. I think a lot more people are, I think, feeling more comfortable with doing a convention. But and then we have a convention we're going to in October.
Not Crypticon.
No, I don't know if you've ever heard this saying. It's like, I don't have enough spoons to do for something. I don't have enough spoons to do 2 cons and 2 weekends anymore. If I was, 35 again, oh yeah, bring it on. But 44-year-old me is, she's got to have sleep and rest and not aggravate her medical problems. I think sometimes that's what being an adult is having to say no because you know, you got to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
If they were having the convention at 2 different times, like someone had mentioned they were going to do it in August or September again, and I was like, yeah, we'll do it. But then they moved it back to May, so it's like, I don't really want to. I don't really want to do that. So at least, and what it made it even worse, well, not worse, it actually worked in our favor, is because they changed the venue for Texas Frightmare, which then pushed the date out for Texas Frightmare, because usually we would be on our way to Texas this weekend, or it would have already occurred.
Hello, Roger. Good to see you
Hiya,
here.
hiya, hiya. So, Katie, tell us more about the Texas con you're talking about.
Oh yeah, we were just talking about going to conventions because Crypticon is in 2 weeks, and then Texas Frightmare is right after that.
Okay, so Texas Frightmare, that means it's centered around horror and so forth?
Yes, sir. That is
Sure.
correct.
Why don't you drag Mark along there? Give him a treat. Mark, would you like to go to Texas?
I'm busy that weekend. So, I would love to do Texas Nightmare sometime.
Yeah.
But my wife has been very adamant that she doesn't want to go to Texas. Now,
So-
I've been to Texas and it's okay. I see nothing wrong with Texas. But my
Yeah.
wife has sort of like this whole, Thelma and Louise thing about Texas.
Oh, right.
And she's almost that way about Nevada as well. No, Arizona. It's Arizona she won't put foot in. So
Wow. Hardcore.
Okay, so Katie, are you going to the Texas
Yes.
Frightmare, right? When is
Yep. It's
What
going to be
day?
Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, so we're talking September.
Oh, no, it's in May. Is it Memorial Day the last weekend in May? Or is
Oh,
that a
yeah.
different-
Okay, I'm sorry. I think of Labor Day. Okay, so are you going to show us lots and lots of pictures?
Yeah, I've got a couple different. I just finished. I'm working on this one. This is a killer clown from outer space. I just finished.
Right,
for the
right.
show.
No, I meant when you're there at the convention.
Oh yeah, we were talking about displays earlier. Yeah, I'm hoping to be able to display a lot. It's just trying to figure out how to set up our booth. So my husband and because I also write, so that my husband and I can get our books sold and also sell art. So
You mean
Yeah.
by books, you mean by novel?
yeah, my husband's a writer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
well,
And-
don't give you just plug your own book at the beginning of this one. So you're a writer too.
Yeah, I'm a writer as well. And the last couple of years I hadn't really put anything out. Yeah, I just put a new short story collection out. But I've been focusing more on improving my painting skills. This does not look like I'm improving today, but I am.
The fact that you changed a pen to paint pen to a smaller point
Oh yeah.
improves
Yeah,
your workmanship, doesn't it?
yeah, I really enjoy, like, once I finish, I'm not buying any more canvases unless I'm making something special for someone. Once I finish using up all my canvases, I am going to using poster board, black poster board. It's just so amazing to paint on. And then I can use my Posca acrylic marker pens and it's so much smoother. It blends so well. Like I just finished this last weekend.
Oh
And
yeah.
that is, yeah, that's a fan kind of mashup of a Iron Maiden cover.
Well,
Um,
see the blend of the blue and so forth.
yeah, and so I just loved how well it worked.
Right.
And I've got a couple other pieces that have really um I still like canvas, but it's a little harder to do canvas than it is the poster board. It just makes it go so much faster. It dries super fast and you don't have to use as many layers.
Right.
Um, so
Yeah, I started shopping around for better watercolor paper lately. The pad that I bought last time, one wash and my brushes might have well have been sandpaper.
oh my gosh.
Don't you pick up a watercolor paper when you're at your folks?
Okay, I'm going with stocking up on paint there. I think I've told you about this really nice little mom and pop art store down there.
Yeah, which is why I thought you'd get your paper there too.
Yeah, if I'm out, yes, I will. And considering I'm going through it pretty well, I may restock there as well. But at the moment I'm making a list of paints that I'll want, because it's the paints that are where the price tag sneaks up on you.
Well, just a tip. I've gotten oil paints and watercolors on eBay, but they're used tubes. So some tubes are half gone, some are split, but they're like $10 per 20 tubes type of thing on eBay.
Uh-huh.
So it's just
Are you basically buying somebody's old project paints then, or?
yeah. I know it sounds gross, but it works.
No, I can see the cost effectiveness of that. Paints are expensive.
Yeah, yeah. And I buy on Amazon, I believe, watercolor pads. They come 10 to a pack for $10.
Yeah, I mean, Amazon has a good selection though, and as far as paints, I prefer to buy local, considering I pretty much am on a first name basis with most of the people and most of the art stores around here.
Oh, I see. Okay, so getting back to Katie, what is that particular green blob monster for?
It is a little monster called a ghoulie from a movie called Ghoulies,
Right.
and they were notorious for popping out of toilets. And so I'm just so last year at the show, I did a ghoulie painting last minute, just like very last minute. It was the first thing that sold at the con. And
Yeah.
so I'm making smaller ones. I'm gonna do this one, and this one's gonna say, it's a little ghoulie, and he's gonna have like a little devilish smile, and then it says nice butt. So you can like hang it in your bathroom. And then
Right.
the other one he's gonna kind of be looking like sort of mean, and then it's gonna say flush exclamation mark. So I mean, because horror people have a sense of humor too. And so
Right. Yeah, black.
and
Right.
the one that I made last year, I made it specifically. I told my husband, I said, Tim, if this doesn't sell, it's going in one of our bathrooms. And so the people I sold it to, the lady goes, oh my God, we just bought a house. This is going in our downstairs guest bathroom. And I was like, oh yeah, that's
Oh yeah.
awesome. So
You mind?
I decided I'm gonna make two of those just to see if they'll sell. I have a couple people who will really love my cat pictures, so hopefully I'll sell a couple cat pictures and
Oh,
hopefully a couple clowns. I sell a lot of these little mini. I don't know if you were on the group when I've been working on my little mini pictures. I sell these little tiny mini pictures. People love those because you can just put them in your purse or your backpack, and
Right. How
or if
much
you're
are they?
traveling. In the past, I've sold them for 10, but they were drawings. They were all just on plain paper alcohol markers. But I
She
actually
does
did,
not charge nearly enough for her work.
so I would charge $10 a piece for them because I could do one in like 30 minutes. So it was just like sketch it out, outline it, color it, it's done. I mean, I actually would make some on the way down there on the
Right.
plane. But this year I did some that are mini portraits. They're actually painted mini portraits. And so I was gonna charge 15, but Tim says he's like, you really should charge it a minimum $20 for those mini portraits because they're
Absolutely.
originals and they're painted. He said, so it's like if I do some drawings with alcohol, markers,
Right.
then I'll charge like 10. But if it's a full blown detailed painting that I spent extra time on, yeah, no, I'm gonna charge the full 20.
And you're
So
still not charging enough. Oh my God.
hey, you know what? I hate to say it, and this is one of the things that I'm finding, and I have to explain this to Tim over and over again, but a lot of female artists and writers get it, is you end up paying a female tax for being a creator, which is nobody wants to pay you what they would pay a male for the same work. And I know people say, no, that's not true. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Right.
So I always put the female tax in there so that I can actually sell my work and get it off the shelf. I
Well,
mean,
here's
because
an idea. What if you signed all of your work KC? That way they wouldn't know male or female and charge $50.
They can, she's at a convention, they can see her. It's
yeah. The one thing that has helped me a lot at Texas Frightmare has been there's a lot of females that come to the convention.
Oh, good.
And yeah, and so female horror fans finding a female horror creator that they like their work, it kind of works to my advantage. But even they will pay more for a guy's work than they will mine, because yeah, I've seen it. So
Oh,
over and over. But it's just it's a fact of life. I've been dealing with this for at least a good 30 years, 20 years. Well, actually more like 20. So it's not the end of the world. Hopefully eventually, especially with readers are very much like women readers are more misogynistic about female writers than male are. They'll just say right to your face, I don't read women. I don't like how women write. And you're like,
oh.
okay.
Huh.
Yeah. Because I've had that. I've actually had, I think one of the reviews on one of my books actually says, doesn't write like a woman.
Oh, no.
I'm like, that's not a compliment,
Oh,
but
my God.
okay, I guess if you feel like it's a compliment, that's, there's
Right.
nothing wrong with being a female in writing. There's not a set way that females write. But okay, at least you bought the book and reviewed it, so appreciate that.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
Shame on them.
well, you know how it is. How it is with anything art related. People got opinions and they're gonna
Yeah,
share.
well, and they
even
don't
if you-
expect us cartoonists and or animators at all. No,
Yeah, they're-
but they should.
Yeah, they
Per
don't.
se.
And there's so many, it's like you just have to put into that perspective that that we're a dime a dozen, and
Yeah, exactly. And we're not, but how do we fight that,
yeah, exactly. No, so yeah, it's
Okay,
but
Katie, what women's associations do you belong to, art wise?
I don't. I am not really involved in anything right now. I hope to retire in 2 years, so I will have more time to do more art and writing professional organizations.
Oh, I see, right.
Yeah, because my professional day job has nothing to do with creative work at all. And I actually kind of like it that way right now.
Okay, so Mark, are you full-time artist?
Oh, I've been a full-time artist since 1985.
Yeah, that's what about you, Bill?
Pretty much the same, yeah. Well, not as long as up Mark, but yeah.
Right. Oh, okay.
Since the 90s.
Huh.
What about you, Roger? Are you a
Oh,
full-time
boy.
man?
Well, let's just say the old startup is starting up pretty soon.
Because I know you do a lot of animation, but I'm kind of going, the only animation I've done has been like whiteboard videos and
Right, right, which is totally, to me, different than creature character animation. I mean, I know it seems the same, but whiteboard is limited animation, I guess.
yeah, it is. It's very it's not traditional animation in the least.
Right, and you're trying to sell something or an idea all the time, I guess. Sell a point of view.
Yeah, they're most of my stuff that I've done has always been commercial in nature. So rather than entertainment driven.
Right.
So I take it that you're an entertainment driven animator.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now, my illustration has and cartoons have always been a little too tight. I mean, I don't really do a lot of distortion. Everything's got more ball and socket points into it.
Right.
Whereas there's a real skill in distorting animation. I mean, where the figure and the fingers just flex and the facial features and the head morphs and moves around.
You're talking about squash and stretch, I hope.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And I think the humor behind it can be really screwball oriented. And most of my clients, they take their subject matter is way too serious for them to, have a
Right.
screwball approach to it. I've tried that a couple times and it did not pass committee. So,
Oh no.
and I'm such a tight drawer anyway that also it's so work intensive. Back
Yeah.
when I did some work for the Kia cars, the company Kia, I helped do their online university, and I was the person putting together all the elements for their flash element animation. And sometimes I would do, there'd be sub animations within the main element animations, and I would just go ahead and do it. And I was getting, I could have just gotten a lot of work just doing being a production artist doing Flash. And I realized, oh my God, I'm heading down that rabbit hole. I really don't want to do that.
Mhm.
So I think I'll show you guys what I've drawn so far. Since we're nearing the end of our road. Let's see,
Oh, yeah.
where is the screen share?
Little green arrow at the bottom of the.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it on my screen though. I'm seeing all these other commands. There it goes. I found it. Do, 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 do. Okay. So this is from the movie She Creature. The She
Oh,
Creature
wow.
from a 1950s thing. And yeah, I get to I think that's far enough for today. The first one I had was a straight on mugshot that looked too, it either wasn't symmetrical enough or or off symmetrical just enough that it looked annoying, and I thought, you know, I need to do this as a 3/4 shot. So this was the one I was working on last week. And this is from a movie called Devilfish, which later was retitled as Monster Shark, but this is from the 1970s. And it's absolutely terrible movie. Yes. So let me stop. Share. There we go. Now, Roger, the frog you're working on, I can't help but notice that it's got eyelashes. Is this a female frog?
That's right. Okay, so Mark, it's 5:28 and a
Oh,
half.
is it? Oh, believe it or not, folks, we have reached the end of Epic Sketch Time. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. It was kind of a quiet episode this time around. everybody was very intent on doing their own projects. Katie, you did tremendous progress on your GUI.
Hopefully he'll look completely different by next week.
And speaking of which, I'm taking a quick look at the calendar for next week, make sure that I'm on board. Yes, May 9th, we are scheduled for Epic Sketch Time. I
Woohoo.
sent out announcements really late today. I hope everyone didn't mind that. But that you guys are all regulars. And I will see you guys next week.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.